Ladies and gentlemen, the show will commence in 5 minutes. While you are waiting, please hit the like button and share the video link.
Please like and leave a comment, and share this video.
Only 3 minutes until the start. Only 2 minutes until the start.
Please like and subscribe to this channel today. Don't forget to share it and hit that thumbs up. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the awesomeness is about to start in 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin. Grab a drink and a snack, sit down and enjoy watching the show. Don't forget to comment, like the video, and share it to others.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? That's better. Tonight, obviously, second show. Let's start this. Welcome to our second show from the other side, broadcasting live from Minsk, Belarus. I'm Dave, originally from Australia.
And I'm Duke from the United States, and it's fantastic to be here in Minsk. And we're delivering insights from Belarus and the wider world. We're here to delve into the stories shaping our days.
Absolutely, Duke. And we're not alone here. We're thrilled to welcome our other host and member from the other side team, Steve. And tonight we'll have guests virtually from across the globe, all from right here in Minsk.
Yes, indeed, Dave. Our guests will offer diverse perspectives, enriching our show with viewpoints and all sorts of things from Telegram and Facebook.
Just a reminder, we're live twice a week, Sundays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Minsk time, which is 5 p.m. in London, 3 a.m. in Sydney, and 12 noon in New York. Big shout out to our moderators in the chat.
Whether it's the latest news, in-depth analysis, or engaging discussions with our guests from the other side is your destination for a broad spectrum of opinions.
So get comfortable, join us for an enlightening experience. Remember, in understanding global events, there's always another side to consider. Join us in exploring these perspectives from the other side. Hi, guys.
Dave?
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Good to be back here.
Yep.
Yeah, snowy.
Lots of snow today.
It's going to be snowing the next 6 days from what I looked at the forecast. So,
Wow.
I mean, there's going to be where it's going to pause and stop for I think a day or two, but it's going to just keep coming.
Well, as Dave was saying, it's like walking on a beach.
No,
it's
beach
like
that's 23 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's how things are. It's I don't know. It's been a long time since I've ever experienced snow. I was living in the tropics for a long time, so yeah. It's I don't know about you guys. You're from upstate New York. It gets a little cold there. Dave's from everywhere, so he knows snow and he knows he knows heat.
Yeah, I spent 3 years in Alaska.
Yeah, that's pretty much more brutal than anything I've been in as far as cold weather.
Well, I was in Alaska, but only in the summertime. So.
Yeah,
it's
but this is like
nice summer in Alaska.
That's what I hear. Fresh fish, right?
He worked on boats, catching fish.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I know a guy who didn't catch them, but he worked in the fillet factory, like where they would unload it.
Oh, well, I worked mostly there. I worked mostly in processing places of crab and salmon and halibut. Well, not halibut so much.
It's pretty rough work, I guess, from what I hear. You know who else did that, supposedly? Hillary Clinton.
No.
I swear to God.
No, Hillary Clinton?
Yeah. Not for a long time. But I remember an interview probably about 15 years ago where she was saying that it was back when she was getting ready to run the first time or something, I think. And it was she was saying all the kids today are complaining that they're not earning $50,000, $75,000 a year right out of university. Back after I graduated, I spent the entire summer traveling the country. I worked in a fish processing plant in Alaska for a few weeks. I'm no way. But she said that.
I wonder if I saw her. No, she wouldn't have been where I was at.
No, she would have probably been they gave her the easiest stuff to do there. But I mean, I don't know though. That was back when she was relatively a nobody. So I mean, she was still a Harvard grad, but she was she wasn't
guess she had never done a decent day's work in her life. But, you never know.
Her dad was, I think he owned some sort of business in Chicago. I forget. I don't know. I think it was something like that. Small business.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I want to talk about today is it's about a man named Gunther Fehlinger, and he's part of a think tank for NATO, and he has a plan, and of course NATO is going by this plan. It's to fragmentate Russia into many new nations, 31 separate countries as a minimum, and Russia will be on their own, of course, but they'll be a much smaller country, and each country is supposed to have their own separate flags, slogans, and national anthems, and all sorts of things. It's going to be think about at least 31 different Ukraines. The West initial strategy targeted Belarus, when they wanted to first take over, Russia. But of course, then they went on into Ukraine, as you all know, and it's yet, I don't know, it hasn't unfolded yet fully how they wanted to do this, and now they're I don't know, it's not going too well in Ukraine, I guess I'll just say that. And the CIA has opened and expanded recruitment of Russian nationals all over. As you know, they're hiring. Yep, we're hiring. And their tactic is not just confined to Russia. It's also especially like Kazakhstan and Belarus. Of course, they've been open for business in Belarus for quite a long time. And it's just, well, I don't know. This kind of goes in hand with what Putin was just saying just yesterday. He was talking about the ideology of the Western elites and what they're trying to do. And they're, well, I don't know if you guys, did you guys see that script at all by Putin?
That was a speech yesterday.
Yeah, he was talking, I can't remember, what was that he was talking to? But anyway, he ended by saying, we are fighting not only for freedom for Russia, but freedom for the entire world. And he asserts that Moscow is spearheading the creation of a more just world order without a sovereign, strong Russia. He warns no lasting, stable world order is possible. And this Günter Fehlinger, he's like I said, he heads a think tank, and he has envisioned that they're going to divide up all of Russia into these many countries, and it's just a terrible vision. And of course, they're planning on doing this with the BRICS nations as well, like India and Brazil, dividing them up into other countries. So that's mostly what I was going to mention today.
Yeah, I didn't see anything particularly that stood out to me yesterday from Putin's speech. It was a lot of the same stuff he said over the last several speeches, but he definitely expounded on some of the things you mentioned as far as Western elites and what their goals are as far as Russia. But I mean, it's pretty predictable. I mean, if you are somebody like the United States, the only other country on Earth besides Russia who has essentially the capacity to really destroy humanity with the amount of nuclear weapons they have in both of those countries. How do you deal with your main opposition, your main threat, which would be Russia, and economically it would be China, but you would want to fight them without fighting them. Either get them to tear themselves apart from the inside, or get other people to put pressure on their societies through like this Ukrainian conflict to cause friction internally with their own society, to get it to essentially just fracture or break apart, which is ironic considering how fractured the United States is right now.
Well, yeah, it's turning out that Ukraine is just a precursor. There's probably a test area, for whatever this Günter Fehlinger. He's like, actually, he's an economist from Austria, and like I said, he's in charge of the expansion of NATO. He's the one in charge of the think tank for that. And oddly enough, just was it yesterday or the day before, Liz Truss, the former prime minister from the UK, she came out with her own little article in the Wall Street Journal. I think what was that called? It was, but anyway, it's about crying for U.S. leadership again, that the world needs U.S. leadership. Here she was the prime minister, thinking, oh, you're a sovereign country, but it looks like she was basically saying, we're puppets, like look at Olaf Scholz, he probably would say the same thing. She said, the U.S. must once again lead the free world. And it's obvious then, just from that statement, that they do not lead the free world right now. Yeah. And who does lead it? Is it Russia? Is it China? Is it Russia and China?
Nobody.
Yeah.
There is no free world right now.
Well, that's another thing. It's not free at all, and it's not leading the world. They lead maybe the West. They lead Europe, and they lead, Australia possibly, and the United States. But it looks like you have South America and Africa and Asia. They're going their own way.
Yeah, they're just doing their own thing, and they have been for kind of quite a while now in some ways.
Known as the multipolar world, and it looks like that's the new world today.
Yeah, it's just we've yet to kind of have fully developed which of the multiple poles will be around. Like, what will it be centered around? Like 3 different axes, or will it be even like a dozen? You'll probably have China as one, maybe India, maybe you'll just have like continental, like geographic brackets of countries who will together represent a polarity in themselves, like a single pole, like the South American, Latin American bracket, and then like the Middle East and stuff.
Well, they're looking at Africa as like one nation, that they
treat it kind of like one nation, but it is, obviously Northern Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, then South Africa, East, West Africa. There's quite a bit of different political things going on in each area. So
yeah, and Gaddafi, he was trying to unite Africa. What did he call Obama? The son of Africa, and that Gaddafi, as he was trying to, I think the currency was supposed to be the African gold dinar.
Yeah, he was going to take them off of
the dollar, and of course that's a no-no.
Yeah. So was Saddam, apparently. And that was another reason for that conflict, is what they said.
But it looks like there's something going to be coming out here with the BRICS nations, and it looks like the United States won't be able to stop that one. I think they know that. I think they're smelling that they're in a trap.
That new president in Argentina doesn't want to be with BRICS anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
After he got in, just like last 3 or 4 days ago, now he doesn't want it anymore.
No, he said that before he was getting in. He's anti-China and anti-Russia.
I heard he's wavering now. He's wavering, and I think he's just a really mixed up guy. Now he's converting to Judaism.
Yeah. He's converting to Judaism from Catholic.
From one day to the next.
Yeah, that's converting to Judaism is a very involved process. It's like a religion it's very difficult to get into that. They don't really like take people from outside and try to they don't have a lot of Jewish missionary work. So it's very hard to become a Jew. You have to really want to do it because it's a process and everything. And I guess even once you become one, they're not really going to see you as a true Jew, as somebody who's born into it, and what they would call an ethnic Jew.
Don't you have to be a Jew from your mother?
Yeah, my dad used to tell me that they don't really. Yeah.
And then I believe there's only a certain amount of families that they actually really respect. I mean, in their old ancient families, and the other ones are not. They don't have as much of a status, I guess, within Judaism.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's something very strange. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody actually converting to it in real life. I mean, it is possible, but I think you have to go.
Trump's daughter.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
To marry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you have to keep in mind, you're looking at Israel, and they I think it was Netanyahu himself saying the Jewish state, and it's I don't know. Some people are trying to, people say the Jews or whatever, but you got to realize Judaism is a religion, and then people call George Soros a Jew, and they mean it negatively. He was say born into Judaism, but then he seems like even at a young boy he rejected Judaism, and he even admits today he's an atheist. And when he was a boy working, let's just say it, he worked for the Nazis. He turned Jews into the Nazis. So it's sort of like anybody saying, oh, he's a Jew, and thinking that's negative connotations. But we all know, there's a lot of really good Jewish people. And it's, there's not just the Hasidic, but there are people that are not. And they don't really like, I guess you call it things like saying you're God's chosen people, or, how Adolf was saying the master race, and Obama, the exceptional people, the exceptional nation. Of course, that's one thing that Putin mentioned yesterday, is that they are now, basically combating exceptionalism, U.S. exceptionalism. And what he means, what the U.S. means by that is they don't have to go by the rules. I mean, everybody sees that. They make the rules, and the United States decides on who has to follow them, which is most everybody. And if they're closest allies, they don't have to go by rules. You break the laws of humanity, you break the laws of warfare, you do anything and you can get away with it. And it's all acceptable.
So yeah, about the Argentinian president, though, I also heard that he's
essentially leaning pro-Israeli, pro-Ukraine now. I don't know if he always was like that. I didn't really follow that thing very much. I mean, it's Argentina, okay, but
He's getting rid of the peso as well for the dollar.
I heard it crashed, like the peso versus the dollar the last few days.
Oh, wow. That'd be interesting. I didn't hear that.
I heard it. Just a news story today that came across one of my Telegram channels.
Inflation's over 100%.
Yeah, they've always
Why
had
is that Argentina, it's always crashing. I don't understand.
Yeah, they've had that for like decades, I think. I don't know, you always hear that they always have bad inflation and bad economic problems down there. That's what I was looking at as potentially a country to move to, honestly, about 10 years ago when I started planning to leave the United States because cost of living, and it's warm, at least parts of it are anyway. And but the thing is about Argentina is it's like actually a lot easier and less expensive if you have to like fly anywhere in the northern hemisphere to do it from somewhere in Europe versus the southern hemisphere. Because man, the flight I just to go check it out like 10 years ago, just a flight down to Buenos Aires was like over $1,000 from New York, JFK. I was like, whoa. I was like, I've gotten one-way flights here, not two-way, but I've gotten one-way flights from JFK to Eastern Europe as low as $250. Before, not right now, but previously.
Well, while we're on the topic, what about Elon Musk? Is he going to convert to Judaism?
Going to Israel.
He's there right now, I think, right?
$75 million worth of advertising.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I guess a few days ago they were calling him an anti-Semite, and all of a sudden, we all know what that's all about. I mean, you're going to lose your butt, or I don't know. Sooner or later, a lot of people have to kind of, bend the knee to Israel. I don't know. Looks like that's the case there. And of course, what you were mentioning, Dave, that he was invited.
He was invited by Hamas to Gaza, and he said, no, it's too dangerous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not very good PR, amongst the rich people.
And you got almost $200 billion. Why do you want to put your neck out there,
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's true. I tell you what, they'll drop bombs on anybody. How many children now? What's the score on that one? I think over 15,000 people. And how many children?
I think they're almost around 10,000, maybe more, just children. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah. Well,
I've heard slightly different numbers from different places, but general consensus is the total civilian casualties are like over 14,000, and probably like I think around 60 to 70% is women and children.
Jeez. Well, they extended this ceasefire for just 2 more days, and it's not a full ceasefire, as you know. There's a lot of stuff going on still, but at least it's much better than it was in those original weeks.
Oh, here's something interesting. I was going to mention. I think I was going to mention it last time because they've been talking about it for a while, but I guess it just got launched today. If they're sticking to their new schedule, did you hear about this flotilla from Turkey?
Oh,
yeah, 1,000 ships.
Yeah,
or boats.
Now, I guess that was supposed to leave today, and it's 1,000 commercial and private vessels that are going to just apparently be loaded up with, I guess, humanitarian aid of sorts, and essentially try to bring it straight into Gaza somehow. Wow. Maybe just just row it onto the beach from the larger ships out and off the coast somehow. But Israel has basically said that they're not going to allow this to get in there, any of this stuff, even if it is just like food and water and stuff.
Yeah, but they tried that years ago, and they killed a few Turks.
Yeah, it was the Mave Marina or Mave something. And there was even Cynthia McKinney. She was the congresswoman from Georgia. I think she's a doctor now. She went to maybe a doctorate. I don't know. But I wonder if she's going to be in that flotilla. She was bringing, in those old days, coloring books and crayons. So
yeah, I don't know.
Dangerous weapons.
Hard to stop 1,000 boats, huh?
Yeah, not only stop it but if they try militarily, because there's no military escort as far as I know with these boats, and they're just civilian and private commercial vessels. So if the Israeli military, or I don't even think the U.S. would really try to get involved directly if it's not military related. But if the Israeli military gets involved, I don't know what the reaction would be from the Arab world. I mean, from Turkey and stuff, who's got a substantial military presence in the Middle East. And
I heard of one called Netanyahu, the butcher of Gaza, today.
It's true, essentially. I mean, this isn't by far any of the most devastating as far as loss of human life conflicts that's occurred ever, but the raw ratio of civilian and especially children to combatants, like especially on the Hamas side. I mean, how many Hamas guys have been killed? Probably like a few hundred, if that, compared with like tens of thousands of civilians. And it's like, whoa, it's like you're looking at like probably like a 20-1, maybe 10-1 ratio of civilians to actual Hamas fighters who've been killed. And it's like, yeah, you're not doing justice. You're just, butchering them as a whole people, essentially.
Well, we remember, I think we even mentioned it, I think, in that last broadcast about what was going on there on the 7th of October, that originally Hamas was not planning on killing anybody. All they wanted was to, I think, blow up 2 checkpoints, and maybe that entails a couple IDF soldiers, I don't know. And then they wanted to get hostages and use those hostages to trade for the hundreds and hundreds of Palestinians, or thousands. I don't know how many. Yeah, thousands. They got prisons packed with Palestinians, and they wanted to trade and
women and children. That's not men. Lots of women and children.
Yeah, I guess on the footage it shows mostly a lot of women and children that they traded for. So, very dangerous people, women and children.
Yeah, I've seen some of these interrogation videos of the IDF and the Israeli police interrogating some of these like 12-year-old kids, and stuff for like, all sorts of stuff, making them cry, screaming in their faces. Like, they're like not even teenagers, these guys, these little kids. It's like, you got to be screwed up, even if you are under your laws in that country allowed to do stuff like that. It's like, and I understand they have terrorist incidents over there in Israel, but they should have long ago, decades ago, worked this out some other way instead of having to basically just ramp up the pressure on them, which isn't actually solving the problem, and it's just exacerbating the situation.
Well, that's what Elon Musk said. I mean, he's, I think, who knows what's really in his head, right now, but he was saying that for every Hamas you kill, you create more, something like that. And that was originally, he was, maybe that's his real sentiments, is that I don't think he's that impressed, but I think we can say that here because we don't have 500,000 viewers right now. So to where they're going to say, look at Elon Musk and say, hey, maybe that's true. Yeah, maybe you still sympathize with the Palestinians. We thought we won you over.
Yeah, I don't know why he went there.
Well, it's advertising.
It's mainly because all the advertisers were leaving X or Twitter, and he was about to lose 75 million a year.
Wasn't he already? They were already kind of walking away for a while though, just because he was allowing free speech on X or whatever.
Yeah, well, they.
And then after he agreed with that one person's comment or something.
Yeah, well, that's when it started because Apple left and Disney and all those ones.
Considering that these people make up like 2% of the U.S. population, I don't know how they've gained so much control over some of these companies that were never started by people from the Jewish faith. I mean, Apple. I don't know. Some of the board of directors might all be Jewish for all I know now, but Steve Jobs wasn't Jewish as far as I know. So
no, he was a Buddhist, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was after he tripped acid a couple of times or something. Converted to Buddhism. I'm kind of a Buddhist too, actually. Though I've studied the philosophy of Buddhism. It is an interesting philosophy. I think that their view on reality and the cycles of suffering that people go through and stuff is pretty accurate depiction of how reality actually works. And they don't actually believe in like a real heaven or hell per se. They believe that you just keep coming back and being reincarnated over and over until you reach a state of higher awareness and then become, one with essentially reality, reach nirvana.
Yeah, well, like they say, life is suffering, and then you just limit that as much as you can.
Yeah, well, the only way you escape from the cycle of suffering is by transcending it, essentially, through your own perception and awareness. Is their kind of one of their philosophies, but it is an interesting religion. Anyway, what was I going to say? I was thinking about something I was going to say before. I think it was like that. So what do you think is going to happen after the ceasefire, or you think they will? I know there's a lot of pressure not only from the Arab countries and the Muslim countries, but also from the Western countries, even like the U.S., even to basically make this ceasefire indefinite.
Yeah, they're trying to extend it.
Yeah, they. It makes sense from their standpoint on both sides.
At least till the election, till the presidential election.
Well, yeah, obviously in the U.S. because of that, but also because the Arabs, because it's like, okay, well, stop getting these civilians killed and cool down the region so that we don't have to deal with a massive regional war or anything. But I'm a lot of the of Netanyahu's cabinet, especially that Ben Gvir guy, I think his name is. He's like come out and be like, no, we're starting it right up as soon as the ceasefire is over, and we're gonna start hitting them again. They were not stopping until this is all finished and everything. And I'm
And
like,
then they're going to make it worse, he said.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because I'm like, well,
Yeah, they said
after
that.
this, like, if you take a pause for like 2, 5, 10 days, where you're like, you went from butchering people every day, and after 6 weeks of that, people were kind of like, it was really shocking. Like, I think especially the first 3 weeks, but then it kind of like got toned down. I think. No, I'm not saying it wasn't terrible what they were doing still, but you kind of didn't like have it as much in your face, and I think maybe they weren't doing it as to the same intensity, but they were definitely still bombing them every day. And then they stopped completely. And whoa, you don't hear about like 300 kids getting bombed today and blown to pieces, or infants getting like their legs blown off and stuff. And it goes on for a few days, and you're like, wow, okay, this is not bad. Like women and children aren't getting slaughtered, and IDF isn't getting shot at and stuff, like whatever. But it's like, okay, they're just giving each other prisoners and they're having celebrations and stuff. So then it's like everything's cool. But then it's like this guy wants to start it all back up again, or not just this guy. I mean, like the entire Israeli cabinet essentially. And they're what is their like parliament called? They're
Knesset.
yeah,
Knesset,
that's it. They're going to start it. They want to start it all up again. And once that begins, then the entire Arab world, I think it'll be worse than it was even before, because they're just going to be like, well, things were okay, and these people were getting some assistance, and now you basically let all these prisoners free back into this place that you're now bombing, and you're going to end up killing probably some of these prisoners that they released in the process. And it's like, I think it's just going to exacerbate everything, because it's going to be like what the hell,
Well, look at these Arab nations. Of course, a lot of them are. I would kind of don't want to say they're talking tough, but they're obviously angry, and they're
posturing.
Yeah, I guess a good word, posturing, and but never did anything. And of course, with all those children and seeing all that footage and this terrible, terrible stuff, if they didn't do anything then, and I don't know how much is left to bomb in Gaza. I mean, they got most of it already, and I just can't believe these Palestinians and how they can put up with this.
I was reading today, there's thousands missing.
Yeah, lots of them under the rubble.
Under the rubble.
Like
Yeah, how many children are still
yeah.
underneath there? I mean, the count it's going to be a long time before they know they got to take all these boulders and what is it? How many millions of tons of concrete all over the place? And a lot of them lost their houses in different, intifadas or whatever. That's I think 3 times. So I believe they're rebuilding their houses on the 3rd time, completely destroyed by Israel. How these people can take this?
I don't know why they just wouldn't try to get out and like bail out to Jordan or something, or Lebanon.
Well, see, that's what Israel wants them to do.
Oh, I know that is the whole purpose. Yeah, that is what they want.
These people are really tough. I mean, they know that's what.
Yeah, but it's their land. Why should they have to leave?
Of course.
About like trying to tell the people in Texas to leave and give it back to Mexico or something like that.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially if you have it for generations and stuff. You're not going to get compensated for it after you're gone. They're just going to take it, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
Israelis are destroying stuff in the West Bank as well at the moment.
Yeah. I was going to mention that as well.
Mess there.
But then again, you can
Jenin was that once at one time a camp, right? And now it's actually a city. Attacking that.
You can always build another house, but if you're dead, you can't.
Well, even when you're too old, you can't do that. A lot of these people are elderly.
Yeah, I know.
3 times they built their house already again. And can you imagine what your house is going to... Of course, if you made some mistakes the first time, I guess you won't do it the second. I mean, how to build it. But you get a little bit tired and thinking your house is just going to get blown up again. I mean, it's like, oh, what's the point in doing a good job? Jeez.
A lot of them are those in Gaza who still got their keys from where they got evicted last time in Israel.
Yeah, I heard that too. I think I was listening to Judge Andrew Napolitano today. He was talking to somebody. Maybe it was, I don't remember. I think it might have been the Alistair Cook guy who was like a British diplomat. And he was talking about that, how they still kept their keys from where they got when they got removed from their house like decades ago, their original house, like some of the older people.
And all the different ways they lost their houses, so many ways. There was one people, Palestinians, they owned a house and they rented to some Jewish people. I think they went somewhere for a short time, and they came back and said, "It's not your house anymore. We own it now." And of course, Israel backs them up for that.
Yeah, they do.
And I've heard of, I think it was in East Jerusalem, they would, in a lot of these buildings, the Israelis would pound and break out the walls and then go inside of the Palestinian apartments, that lives next door to them, sit down in a chair and then evict those people, say now they have a double apartment. So they kick out the Palestinians from their own, from the other side of the wall.
I've never heard of that one before.
That's... Yeah, that's from before. That's not recent. That goes back in a couple of years ago.
And I guess that there's nothing they can do because the Israeli police will back them up essentially, and the Israeli government will back them up.
Yeah, and I think no IDF soldier has ever suffered consequences for killing Palestinians. I remember hearing that a few years ago, and as far as I know, it's still the case.
I hear that one of them got an Israeli policewoman got fired because she shot a Palestinian teenager in the back because he was as he was walking away, and he was unarmed.
Wow.
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
I heard it it was an old video I saw where she did it.
Maybe it's because it's a policeman. I don't know if that's a difference than the IDF.
Yeah, it might be something different. But as far as their behavior, I think that they're kind of they have the IDF acting as police all the time inside of Israel, essentially. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there. I really don't. I don't know everything about how their system works.
Sounds like another army in the 40s.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, it's not too much fun, I guess, to live down there anyway. So a lot of these people are very resilient, those Palestinians.
Extremely.
Yeah.
So I don't know what'll happen when this if they turn the bombing back on when this ceasefire hypothetically ends sometime in the next week or so, unless they just keep extending it indefinitely. So we'll have to see. I knew they would try to extend it as soon as they said they were going to do I think it was originally a 2-day one or something like that, maybe 5 days. And then I knew it was they're definitely going to double that amount of time, and maybe even they're going to try to get it for even more. But we'll see.
Well, with all that sad news, what's going on in Palestine, but there's some happy news, at least for somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. He bought himself 2 new yachts. You probably heard about that.
And 2 apartments in London.
Yeah, 2 apartments.
2 new ones.
2 new
It's
ones.
got 4 in London now.
Yeah. You were mentioning that he has one on Baker Street, right?
Yes, Sherlock Holmes Street.
Wow, incredible. But everybody's talking about the names of these new yachts. One is Lucky Me, and another one is My Legacy. So I wonder what his legacy is going to be. I wonder how lucky he's going to be when the Ukrainian people catch up with him.
Well, as long as he doesn't end up like Trotsky with an ice pick in his head.
Ooh.
That could happen.
Wow. Well, I think Lukashenko was saying that he's not going to have a good end.
Yeah.
Lukashenko's in the Arab Emirates at the moment.
Yeah, he's in UAE.
Oh,
Some climate change.
Yes,
a climate change.
Correct. How does
COP20s, whatever it is.
How does he keep going? The guy is always on the go. I
He's
can't
always
believe
on
it.
the go.
He just had, what was it? When was this?
The CS.
Yeah, that's just a few days ago, right?
Yeah, all the people here, Putin and everybody.
Well,
And yesterday he had the Deputy Prime Minister of Venezuela here as well.
Jeez, can you imagine having to keep up with a schedule like that? I tell you what, no thank you.
He may be just the president of Belarus, but he's swinging hard as the president of a much larger, bigger country,
Yeah, I don't know if it matters how big your country is because, you're meeting somebody. I'll tell you what, look at Joe Biden. He sleeps till 10 or something like that. He spends most of his time on the beach. I think Obama was golfing. Trump maybe as well. I know Trump is a little bit different. He doesn't sleep that much. I think he'd get up at 4 and he'd go to bed at 11 o'clock at night. So he slept, I don't know, maybe 3-4 hours or something.
He's a business guy, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, mixing his political work along with his leisure and stuff, because I'm sure he was mixing business with leisure too when he was running his businesses. So.
Well, when he was president, he signed over his business empire to
his children,
to the kids, yeah.
His kids. So he was just concentrating on there's things I would mention I don't like about Trump, but there's lot of things I do like about Trump, and then when you think of some of the other ones that I would like, the only things that I like about him, of course, is that that Ramaswamy guy or whatever his name is, and of course Kennedy. There's a lot of good positive things about them. All the other ones you can forget, including old sleepy genocide ice cream Joe. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. Trump he can get things done, and that's Ramaswamy. I guess he's a business guy too. But I don't. I'll tell you what. Even Trump, he couldn't get everything done he wanted to get done. You got to play by the game of these people behind the scenes, the men behind the curtain that actually really do run things. So.
Yeah, I don't know if he really came in there understanding what he was going to be up against or what he could actually feasibly do to fix things without causing more damage than he was. Even though, because I think a lot of things that had to be fixed over there would end up probably, if they were tried to do what they need to do to fix everything, it would probably cause a lot of damage in the short term, essentially to the economy. But longer term, it would dig the country out of its Ponzi scheme sort of debt mountain that it keeps piling underneath itself, which eventually will cause it a tremendous number of problems if it keeps continuing to exponentially increase as it has. It's almost like it doubles itself every 10 to 15 years or so, the debt rate.
But any possible accomplishments a president can make, you have to realize that they got a iron ball chained to their ankle, which means they're donors. They have to do what what their biggest donors want.
That's true, but Trump, I think, wasn't he self-funded a lot of his campaign,
lot of it.
though?
That's
So
what
he didn't
was
really
amazing.
have any donors.
A lot of people don't realize that Trump, I think he lost more than half of his fortune while he was president. You look at somebody like Barack Obama, who got fabulously rich while he was president. I think when he came in, it was, I don't know, 2 point something million, and when he left, he had over 28 million. And
yeah, he was just it was basically his wife was making more than him when they went in, because he worked for I think wasn't he not a senator for
just
Illinois?
2 years.
He just did 2 years, and then before that, he worked for like the state level assembly or the state level.
Well, at one time in his past, he worked for a company, and I forgot the name of it, but that's listed as a front company for the CIA. And as you know, his mother and father both worked for the CIA.
I didn't know that, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. His mother,
Well,
the rumors. I don't want to say what she was doing, but there's photos online apparently, but I don't know about that sort of thing. And then there's this question: oh, who is his real father? And I don't know that it really matters. It's I guess what matters is the family that he grew up in, and and that father was worked for the CIA. That's how he met his mother. His father met his mother, I believe. But you're not going to learn about Obama by reading what is the book's name? Dreams of My Father, or whatever the heck it is. A lot of these people embellish things and change things. But I guess what is written in that book is that company that he worked for, and that was a CIA front company.
And what was he supposedly doing for them?
You got me.
Wasn't he a counselor as well before in Chicago?
He was like some sort of inner city like community organizer or something. I think this was the first thing that he did right out of law school. And he met his wife when he was doing work at some law firm or something. Because she's just was a straight attorney for her entire career up until she became first lady. So she was just going the law firm track. So that's why she was making essentially more money than him, whereas he was, building a resume politically and stuff but it actually made him, in the short term that cost him money, of course, but he was tacking on virtue signal points, doing different things as far as, some sort of community activism stuff and lower paying political jobs to build his resume over time.
Yeah, that's been interesting. Try to find out the truth about Obama. That would be very interesting. I think it was even Ron Paul. Ron Paul was saying that Obama was chosen. It's not like you get chosen. It's like if you know how you guys know how elections work. It's not like that the people actually choose the president. It's like the elites choose who
They're going to put up.
Yeah, who they're going to put up, and then and they already know ahead of time a lot of who's going to win.
Yeah, they just put up whoever they who they want to pick, and I think that
it's obvious Hillary was supposed to win.
Yeah,
they didn't expect that Donald Trump,
I
and
mean,
they cheated.
It's hard to say.
Oh, I'm not allowed to say that. Probably YouTube probably get us right. You can't say any cheating or vote cheating. It's all fair. I don't know.
It was fair cheating.
Fair cheating. There you go. So yeah, Biden, of course.
The election wasn't rigged. It was completely democratic, and it was entirely legit.
And yes, and Biden. Everybody loves Biden, as you know. I mean, he got 10 people in some of his biggest rallies. I saw that before.
I don't know. I don't think there's really much they're going to do to change that place as far as the trajectory it's headed on. They've had this idea to create this place where they would just. I mean, it really isn't a country per se. It's not. It doesn't really have its own intrinsic cultural or like traditions. I mean, everything about it has been brought in from the immigrants who have come to live there. Essentially, that includes people like me and you.
I always call
Our
America a
ancestors.
business, not a country.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I say.
That's what the
it's
whole
called
idea
economic
was about.
zone.
The very first country to call their leader a president was the United States because they wanted it to be like a business.
That's what it is. It's like a business, but and they've just been bringing in immigrants for essentially 250 years almost now. Some by force, unfortunately, unwillingly, and others, through the propaganda and the supposed opportunities they can have there, which actually were quite substantial at times during the past, although I think that they've dwindled out considerably in the past several decades, depending on what sort of opportunities you're looking for.
The American dream left a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, it was a lot of the American dream was a lot of time the economics. There was if you look at the economics on a not a timeline, but on a on a linear, you have supply side and demand side, and the United States was the first supply side. I think it was Alexander Hamilton, and then in the last century, the big supply side economy was Singapore. And now I tell you what, I don't understand China's economy, so I'm not going to chime in on that. But I know that Singapore was using the same sort of a model as the United States was moving throughout that time when they were there. But it doesn't exist anymore, and
yeah,
it's
actually
we used to go to Singapore before it was cleaned up.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't believe this, but
completely different place.
I knew, and he was a friend of mine, the economic advisor of Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah,
he is the leader of the Green Party of in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He's a Oxford graduate in accounting and all kinds of economics degrees, and he was the economic advisor of Lee Kuan Yew. It's incredible. He's got a lot of medals and things. A lot from, I think, Singapore. I think he was maybe even in the British military at that time. Ivan O'Neill is his name. Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Singapore, very strict there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Oh, yeah. Well, he'll stick up for Singapore even about all the crazy stuff, And then they're talking about Lukashenko. Oh, he's an authoritarian. And, I think about that. There's, where I live, there's a factory down the street, and then there's a lot of people that in the wintertime, your nose is kind of running and you I don't know, maybe you get phlegm in your throat, so they spit and it's on the sidewalk. And I think, damn, that's disgusting. And I remember Singapore, I think if you spit on the sidewalk, didn't they put you in jail or they give you a big fine? And
yeah. It's like chewing gum's banned there in the country for years now.
Yeah. So, if it's so bad here, why don't they do something like that? I don't like the spitting on the sidewalk, but
yeah, it's definitely not something that's nice. But I don't know if you throw people in jail, I mean, hit them with like a $10 fine or something.
Yeah. Well, not even that. I'll tell you what. In this country, if they told people that that's disgusting and put up some sort of a little campaign to stop spitting on the sidewalk, spit over on the side, people would do it.
Yeah,
that's
probably
just how
would.
they are here.
They probably would. Yeah.
In a lot of countries, they say, well, damn, I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. Freedom,
One thing that they could do better here, though, is I would have liked to see them reinvigorate the exteriors of the older Soviet buildings. I mean, not the ones that are in like the core of the city, because they keep that obviously in very good condition. But like if you go to the outside the center of the city and you see some of the older Soviet built residential blocks and stuff, you'll see the buildings. I'm sure you see them. They're all around us. Well, actually not here. They're not around us. This is all new stuff.
Yeah.
But if you go a few blocks that way, you find them. And you go in there, and I lived in one of these buildings when I came back here 3 years ago for about a year and a half, where they have like the old, you walk in to the entrance and it's like the concrete dank cellar type of thing, where it's like it has that old damp like basement smell to it, and it's
When you walk right in the building, you mean?
yeah. It's not like the fancy lobby we got down in this building.
Yeah.
And like
It's like a hotel here.
yeah, and then even the one I'm living in right now is like somewhere between like these new buildings and like those older, but it's more leaning towards these newer buildings. It's like a nice lobby with some plants and nice mailbox set up and everything for everyone. But the older buildings are kind of like, it kind of feels like a rat might crawl the corner. But generally, there's none of that going on though, because the people who live there do maintain it pretty well.
Well,
it's inside.
Well,
Yeah, just some cladding or something on the outside would be nice.
Yeah, they just do some work to make the outside look a little better. Just paint it every 10
like they
years
do
or something.
Yeah, the building I'm in, it was it's a Stalinka. It was built during the Stalin times, 1934, and I believe it was a lot, maybe a little bit, at least a little bit more ornate at that time. But then when they do these makeovers, I think that they lose a lot of that. So you look at the building and it looks like it was just some building that was built in the last 10 years, and not even knowing that it was a Stalinka. But that's one thing in Belarus and in Russia that that is not kept up, or that is not approached, say in the United States or Germany, is the stairwells. A lot of the stairwells don't look so nice here.
Yeah.
But like we're trying to indicate a lot of the things about Belarus that people think are negative in the United States. And, like I just mentioned, that there's a factory and hundreds of people are going down this sidewalk, and I don't even know how anybody has the room to spit if there's other people, but I don't know how, at least 2,000 go in one direction going down this, 100-meter sidewalk, at least in a day. Probably a lot more than that, but and then of course in the stairwells, but most everything else, as we all know, is very positive about this country, and I would choose this place for most everything over any place in the West, to be honest with you.
I've noticed in a lot of the stairwells as well, there's a lot of bicycles and all that, not even chained up, they're just sitting there. No one steals anything. You've noticed in these places?
Yeah, we've had a lot of luck with that too ourselves. Even outside, my son has lost some of his toys out on walks and stuff, and we didn't remember till we got back from the walk, like 2-3 hours later. I had to go run out and go and see if I could find it, and every single time I found whatever toy he lost.
Well, people, they don't steal anything from anywhere. Like I'm in school now, and you can leave your cell phone. I mean, it's like, we've been to a lot of these countries in the West. You leave your cell phone sitting on the table, and you go upstairs or go anywhere around. There's nobody, except sometimes some people, and believe it or not, from Africa, Black people and people from Arabic countries, and they don't take your cell phone. It's like, and it's kind of like in the States, you don't. Well, of course, they're probably Americans, but if you're gone for more than 5 minutes or something, your phone's probably going to be gone.
In the States, I was in Las Vegas, and I took my sunglasses off when we went inside of a restaurant at a casino. And me and the girl I was with at the time walk away from the table. She goes to the bathroom. I go to the bar. I come back and my sunglasses are gone right off the table.
Oh,
they were an expensive pair of sunglasses. They were like diesel sunglasses or something. But it was like, I was like, who's like, what the hell? I'm like in Las Vegas of all places. Oh, actually, it's probably like a place where you might expect that, but not inside like a restaurant inside of a higher end casino. It wasn't like the old part of the city with those, like the Golden Nugget and those older casinos.
Leaving things in your car as well, overnight.
Oh,
like your phone or anything here. Now you come back and it's still there. It's just like, oh shit, windows are still okay, haven't been broken.
Well, I had friends, and it's on the western part of Germany, right on the border of Holland, and they would go, like, say, to Amsterdam or Nijmegen, if I can say that right. And you have anything in your car that's a bag or anything like that, and you go away for a half hour, it's gonna be gone, and they can get into your car as fast as you can get in with a key. I don't really know how they do it, but
But San Francisco's really
it's
bad.
gone. Your stuff is gone. You leave a bag in there, it's gone. So you
Yeah,
never
I've
do
seen a
that.
few videos from San Francisco. Just
Yeah, people are pooping on the sidewalks and shooting up heroin and right on the streets.
no, they cleaned all that up when Z turned up.
When she
Yeah.
came in there, they
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Well,
Don't
listen,
worry, it'll come right back.
last year I was in Frankfurt,
Not
and
going anywhere.
I was seeing that in Frankfurt. People and it's kind of subtle, but you look down, you see they're shooting up on the streets, and crazy
Yep.
stuff. In Frankfurt, I was thinking, oh no, I thought it was only in the United States, like in famous is the Kensington Avenue, but then I see there's all these videos from Canada, Vancouver, and all over, and it's
London or something.
yeah, and it's the same thing. You see these zombie people, hanging because they're high on this fentanyl, I guess, and there's all sorts of other drugs. It's like, what the heck is going on over there? And you can't find that here. You don't. I mean, I think I saw some video and somebody asked to go to the worst place in Minsk. It was online. Take me to the worst, most dangerous part of Minsk, and it was like laughable because it's this. It's like oh,
Yeah, I
this
think
is
was
it.
that Bald and Bankrupt, I think, maybe.
No,
No,
it was
somebody
some
else?
other guy. No, it's I think he does videos from all different kinds of places he travels, and
Oh, okay.
a lot of, I don't know if it's all just in
I,
Europe
I,
or
tell, I tell people you can walk
whatever.
at 3 a.m. in a park here with money
Yeah.
coming out of your pocket and you won't get robbed.
yeah.
There's homeless people here. I've seen them. I've seen them sleeping in the like the closed underpasses or where you cross under, and they have like the thing that's like a box on the top with glass where you open the door and you take the elevator down. All right, so sometimes I see homeless people.
You've seen homeless people here.
I've seen homeless people sleeping in them like twice. Yeah.
I haven't really. I mean, because I'm not running around at night.
Well,
Anyway,
it's
I don't have
winter
anything
now.
to
I don't
do,
think you'll
so
see them right now, but in the summer you might see
Yeah.
some.
But I've seen people that I suspected of being homeless, but it's not like you
Have
know
you-
that they're homeless in a lot of other
Well,
places.
you've been begged or asked for change, right?
Let me think.
So if you have to think about it, then I'm surprised because when I used
No,
to
I not really. They ask for like a light, for a cigarette, and
no,
I don't know if they want me to.
seriously?
I don't know if they want. There's sometimes you go like on a Sunday, even as late as 10 in the morning, and you might run into some drunk guy, and I don't know if they want me to buy them because I don't speak Russian good enough. If they want me to buy them booze, or they want to go drinking with me, or something like. I've had people coming up to me with wanting me to
Yeah.
giving me alcohol or something, but it's like you've seen some alcoholics. I don't know about any poor really.
I've had people asking me for money all over the city. I mean, but mostly it's concentrated around Amiga in the downtown area. Yeah, yeah.
What's
I mean,
that?
I spent a lot of time here though, probably about 5.5 years, 6 years now almost. If
Oh,
you
I've only
combine
been
all
here
the
2
time.
years.
So I mean, but still though, I mean, it should have happened because even when I came here, when I was just studying Russian and I was at the university, the first 10 months or whatever, it still happened to me a few times, and some of them were gypsies. Like the it's not all like I'm not saying it's just them doing it. No, there's definitely normal Belarusians who are doing it too. But
Well, no one's asked me for money, and I've been
Really?
coming here since
You guys-
2008 now.
you guys are lucky.
I remember seeing 2 gypsy ladies, but they didn't ask me for money. But I was
yeah.
pretty sure that they were into something kind of shady. I
Well,
don't know.
The gypsies like to send their kids out to ask for the money.
Yeah, I know. I
So-
saw that in Italy and places. They
Yeah.
do like there was one thing they come and they shove a sign in your belly,
They're
and
pretty
somebody
bold.
picks your pocket in the back if you have a wallet or something.
Well, I never keep my wallet in the back anyway.
Neither do I. I don't think
it's-
anybody does anymore. That's the old day
It's
stuff,
like,
right?
yeah, 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
they do that.
Yeah.
You see they're bold though. They'll go right into the restaurants and they'll like ask you for money right at your table.
Wow.
If you're in like a kind of like a fast food type of place or something though, and they won't go into like a fancy restaurant
Huh.
usually.
Has that happened in the last couple of years to you?
No, that happened to me in 2018 with the Gypsies. 2018, 2019. The last time I got begged around here was in the train station, the railway station.
Mhm.
I was just passing through there, coming from the mall in Galileo, and I was going back towards over here where we have the apartment now. And some guy asked me, for change or whatever, because he was stranded or whatever. And this was a young guy, probably like a teenager or something. I ended up giving like a ruble or two, I think, because he didn't seem like the typical like actual homeless person. I mean, he was like probably like 18, 19 years old, and I don't think he was trying to get alcohol or anything. I think he really might have been stranded. So I ended up getting him a couple rubles to get a ticket. But I mean, as far as like typically, it's going to be like a guy who's kind of be like stumbling towards you,
Yeah.
you know, on the street, and he might even like be a little cross-eyed from being pissed drunk, and he might say like, you know, oh, I'm gonna, you know, start talking. Usually, I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir, I don't speak any Russian, and then they'll be like, "Что?" And I'll be like, "Goddamn foreigners, I know, right?" You know, like what the hell? I just throw up my arms. I'm like, I don't know, man, and just pretend I don't speak any Russian. But yeah, they're just like, извините, мужчина, пожалуйста, деньги, like, you know, something like that. You know, asking for some change or something. I'm just like, no.
Well, you know, there was one guy. He approached me. He had a beer bottle, you know, one of those plastic bottles. What is it, 2 liters or whatever that is, and he asked me something, but he wasn't begging for money. That's for sure. And then I said, I don't speak Russian. And he says, oh, where are you from? And I said, America. America. And he started kind of yelling, and his girlfriend was coming, you know, nice looking lady too.
Yeah.
She wasn't, I don't know if maybe she was a little bit drunk. I don't know. But then, I was trying to go to, you know, I was going to school, but they're hooking, and they go, no, come with us, you know. And then they were offering me these, you know, then they had a full bottle of beer, and they were opening it up and trying to make me drink that. And no, I gotta go.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They didn't look like any kind of vagrant type people. So.
Well, maybe they got some place to go because, you know,
Definitely.
the government does have places for these people, but they might actually be working.
Well, to be honest with you, I think they were indicating the same house that I was in, but of course a different stairwell. So I was thinking, well, you know, if I see them again, I hope they're going to be sober.
I once ran into a guy who actually told me straight up, and this is over on the other side of the city in Arusha, and it was about 2 years ago. He claims to me, it was me and my girlfriend were out, we were doing grocery shopping, and my son was at home with his grandmother, the babushka, and this guy comes up and he's asking. He didn't ask for money right away, but he starts talking to me. First, he asked my girlfriend for a cigarette, which he gave him, and then he's like telling me that he's a Nazi, a neo-Nazi. Yeah, and it's like winter like now too, by the way. But there's like we're in front of a store and there's like an overhang, so it's not like snowing directly on us, but it's like fucking cold out. So he starts pulling his shirt off, showing me his giant swastika tattooed on his chest and everything.
Wow.
I'm like, that's great, buddy.
Oh, beautiful.
Way to go. Yeah, I'm like, good thing this is why I carry a pocket knife, because you never know with this crazy crap. But he was friendly though. He was friendly. But then he finishes off though by asking for a few rubles, some money. And I'm like, and this is why I usually don't carry cash. And one reason, but there's a few reasons not to really carry cash. But it's like I can always just pull out my wallet. And honestly, I just got some credit cards. That's it. Sorry, man. And I told him, I was like, sorry, dude, I don't really have any spare change on me. I just have my card. That's it. But that was a weird one that happened to me. But I mean, it does happen quite a bit to me. I mean, maybe it's because I have like, especially my.
You attract them, do you?
Yeah, you must.
I'm just going through some memories that are coming in my head right now, because usually I try to blow them off kind of just by start talking in English right away when I see somebody approaching me. But they're not always asking for money. Sometimes they might ask me like, "What's the time?" or "Do you know where this or that is?" So I always try to like listen to the first few words to see what they're getting at before I just start blabbering off in English. But
not so much in the last years, you say, huh? No, not really.
Yeah, but I'm always walking though, because I don't have a car here, and my son is young still, and he just turned 3 years old. So I'm always taking him for walks, especially since his mom works from home, and I don't have to work. Not on anybody else's schedule though. I mean, I do my own thing, but I'm always taking my son on walks during the day and stuff. So I'm always out in the streets and everything. And then, you know, I like to go. My girlfriend, when she has free time, she likes to chill out at home and either play some kind of like mobile video game or, you know, watch some crime drama series or something. I like to go out and explore the city.
Oh, I know that crime drama.
That's fun for me.
The guy that's so famous. It's the one where he's going over Soviet crimes in the Soviet times.
Oh yeah, she listened to a few of those too. Yeah. But mostly she's into the American stuff. That's what I mean, because that's where she learned a lot of her American English from, was by watching our movies and watching our TV shows. But for me, I like to occasionally, not all the time, but I like to just hop on a bus and just go to some random part of the city and just take it and, end up over by like Zdenovici over there, Kamena Gorka, even north of there in that area sometimes. Or I'll go out to the east even and just kind of like, just explore different parts of the city, grab something to eat.
Yeah, I used to do that with the drones and all that. Not allowed to have them here anymore.
Yeah. Will they let you take them up outside the city though? Or like...
Not allowed in the country now.
Oh, Christ.
I had to take mine out. But if you got a company, apparently you can have them, so maybe I'll bring them back. But I took them out and stored them outside the country now.
Yeah.
I know you were big into those things.
Yeah.
I suppose they just want accountability, because of all the
Well,
stuff going on in
I was lucky I've got a lot of
Ukraine.
video from everywhere anyway. So.
It's an extreme. Well, I mean, there's a war going on next door. I mean, and then Ukrainians are...
And they're big into drones in that war. And there's thousands and thousands of drones.
And they damaged that Russian plane down there at that aviation field just south of the city. I guess. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, it was their the Russian surveillance plane. They landed a drone on it and they just blew it
like
up.
an American AWAC.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about that. That's on that day, I was up early in the morning and I was living, well, maybe I shouldn't say where I was. I was living somewhere else. And I look out the window and I see this great big huge airplane coming. And it was completely silent. And then I called my wife, said, look at this. Look at this thing over here,
You've seen it.
Yeah, and it left the same day they attacked it, so they moved it to a different airfield, and I was near the airfield.
Interesting.
So that's where they were moving it to, and then I heard later on about this attack on that airline, and I was thinking, wow, that.
Yeah, I've seen it too, actually, in the air. Because like a lot of times, this is actually a good area. You'll probably see a lot of them if you're outside during the day and looking up every now and then. They like to fly right across over here. In this area in Minsk World when they're going towards the airport over to the east over there. I've seen them back probably about 6 months after the war started. Russia sent maybe like a dozen MiGs here, all like announced. And I was out walking on the street as I'm going through Telegram, seeing the report from RT saying they were sending these planes here. And I'm looking up in the sky and there's a few of them coming in. Like you can hear them because they're flying relatively low and the engine makes a distinctive sound on these fighter jets versus a commercial airliner, because the commercial airliner's got so much more mass, so it's kind of absorbs some of its own sound, whereas the fighter jet, the sound from its engines really don't have any mass to absorb into as part of the plane itself, so you hear the engine a lot stronger. Well, at least that's my theory about why, because the engine sound on really distinct sound from those fighter jets.
Oh yeah, I lived like I said near an airfield. I was a lot of Sukhois all nearly every day, and sometimes you sit there and watch them flying around in the air and loop to loop. Sometimes you don't hear anything, but I guess it depends on which direction the engine is pointed. If it's, and if they're landing or taking off, But this, I think it's an A8. What is that? What is the name of that surveillance plane? And if you saw that, did you maybe try to listen and did you hear anything? Or I'm just wondering why I didn't hear anything. It was completely silent. I couldn't believe it.
I don't think I heard anything. If I heard something, it probably wasn't different from any commercial plane because it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't hear much from it, but I did take some pictures and video of the MiGs, but I'd have to go and find them again if I still have them or not when they were landing, because I was like, oh, that was cool, because that was back when I was like, that was right after I did a stream with Michael actually. He was calling me. I did 2 streams with him, and the second one, he was like asking me for like if any updates are going on over here, and it was like as far as the wars, because Michael's focused totally on like the operations on the ground, mostly on the military side. And I'm like, Belarus is just Belarus. Yeah, not really much going on here.
Yeah,
it's pretty calm. I try to keep my head down though. I'm not like sitting on the border with Ukraine, throwing rocks at the Ukrainian soldiers. Yeah.
Jeez. Have you guys heard about, I think it was also just yesterday or yesterday before, they were announcing that there's a huge amount of pay increases now in Russia. Huge, like I think the minimum wage has gone up.
Yeah, minimum wage went up, the pensions went up.
Yeah, 18.5% for minimum wage. And
wow.
Yeah, that's quite a jump. I mean, and look at it, and they have like, technically speaking, a war going on. And, they're paying people bonuses and things in the war. It really makes you wonder, Russia is really getting incredibly rich. And I think we were talking last time, but I think you were saying 3.5, but I think it was actually 2.5 growth for Russia.
You're saying
And
3.5 here.
yeah, and Belarus, I think it was 3.5, and they just had pay increases. I know that civil servants, I guess they had it wasn't as substantial. It was at a 10% raise, and I think that was about 2 months ago. But for our listeners out there and on their other side, they can see that people are getting their wages increased over here, and I don't know if the wages are getting increased over there in most of those countries. It seems like it'd probably be going down, or else the money is just being devalued. If they give you a raise, at the same time the prices are going up more drastically than your wages are.
High inflation as well in the West, a lot of countries.
Well, I know that the cost of living increase for the United States for this coming year that they released, because my pension gets connected in with that. And it's between, like, depending on where, if you're collecting like Social Security or something, they're calculating it as around like 3.2%. If you're getting the Social Security, like 3.2, and I'm like, I thought I was hearing a lot higher number than that still.
Well, it probably is. They probably use a mechanism to make it look like it's lower, as they always do. Like unemployment, they change the numbers.
Last year the increase was pretty big. It was like around 7%.
Inflation.
Yeah, that last year was no, not inflation. The cost of living increase that they give to Social Security recipients.
Oh,
But they give it to people who are federal pension holders too. So.
well, I remember last year that they were saying that the United States wasn't as affected as Europe, from.
Yeah, of course, because
all
it's more
this-
energy independent and independent in several ways beyond Europe that Europe isn't. So, I mean, this thing with the energy costs in Germany is, and since Germany is like the heart.
Oh,
of the
Michelin
European
just
economy.
left Germany.
Who did?
Michelin tires.
Michelin tires.
Yeah,
left
they're
Germany.
closing down the plant because it just costs too much.
Yeah,
to
it
run
costs
there.
too much to make the tires there.
Yes. How many
But that's not
businesses
it.
have
That's
left
a
and
lot.
gone to the U.S. as well? I don't know about car
Yeah.
manufacturers, anything else. It's like a lot of people are bailing out. They can't make it anymore in there.
If the German economy goes down, the whole EU economy is going to be hurt bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to go down completely, but every single percentage point that it loses as far as its growth is concerned, or it deficits into negative territory, it's going to hurt the entire foundations of the EU. So,
But they're still sending weapons,
I
apparently.
know they are. Yeah.
They said, yeah, we got to send. I don't know. Maybe they think they're going to come over here and then start taking the oil and the gas from Russia. They think that they're going to win. I don't know.
I can't understand their logic as far as them wanting to, like, is it all loyalty to the U.S. and the U.S.'s long-term agenda, or do they actually think that trying to do this to Russia is actually somehow going to benefit them in the short or the long term? Because it looks to me like this whole thing is setting up the EU to kind of end up having civil unrest and turmoil in the future themselves.
Well, Habeck, I don't think he's
Well,
that
didn't
dumb.
they think all the sanctions would have got Russia down quicker? Like within a few months.
Yeah, they thought they would destroy Russia immediately. But you have the two guys in charge of a lot of the economics in Germany is Habeck, Greens Party, and I don't know, is Christian Lindner. I don't know what party he belongs to, but I don't know. But those guys, they definitely have some sort of brains, and you can't say that much for she's foreign minister, and you know who she is, and Annalena Baerbock. And Schultz, I highly believe that guy's compromised. And then, when I mention that on my YouTube site channel, I get some comments from people, and apparently, yes, he is. He was mayor of Hamburg, and he was involved in some shady stuff, and probably the U.S. has the goods on him, and that's why he's a bigger willing puppet than any other leader on earth. I think. Look at who would let their pipeline get blown up. I mean,
one of the parliamentarians in Russia said that to get the gas back now, they have to pay for Nord Stream to fix it, pay compensation to all the businesses that have lost money, Russian businesses, get all their assets back.
Yeah, a big high guy in Russia saying the same thing. He's saying,
that's him. Yeah,
you're going to have to pay. Oh, you're talking about a Russian one.
Yeah. If you want the gas back.
Yeah. I think maybe it's about time that Russia's not going to be playing footsies with Germany anymore, or the West at all. And if you hear how Dmitry Medvedev talks all the time, it's like I don't know. It's strange. They want to get rid of Putin, and they don't realize that Putin is actually ultra moderate.
Yeah.
And they don't. I don't know. To me, it's like, what the heck, And I remember in the Cold War days, we had good intelligence on Russia, and I'm not saying excellent, but good, and we knew basically what their tendencies are. And now it just seems like there's a bunch of idiots. They don't seem to understand what the heck is going on in Russia. They get everything wrong.
Yep.
It's amazing.
I don't understand how they thought that these sanctions were really going to tear Russia apart when their economic data is pretty out front. They're not as reliant on the global financial system being interconnected as much as places like in the West, especially places that are totally reliant on it would be like somebody like Switzerland, where a lot of their economy is based on international banking, and even the United States. But it's like, as long as they have tremendous amount of natural resources, they have lots of farm land, they can produce all their own food, they can produce all their own energy, and they're still doing business with China and India. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? I don't understand it. Like they don't. It's not like 70% of their industrial sector, or excuse me, it's not like 70% of their GDP is related to international financial transactions.
Yeah.
It's more like 70% of their GDP is based upon natural resource production and exports, which are needed.
And making things as well.
Yeah.
Well, they don't really make too much stuff in Russia.
Yeah.
They make things, but they're not China.
Yeah. What you just said, Steve, is basically, like the United States, they're dependent on people transferring money back and forth and getting a fee from it. Yeah. And in Russia, they have all the energy and.
Yeah. Well, the United States is kind of diversified in a lot of things, but
yeah.
I mean, I think if something like happens like to Russia and it happened to the United States as far as cutting them off, I think it would hurt the United States tremendously much more than it hurts Russia. And I was looking at this at the time, and I wasn't that worried about it as far as the stability of Russia. I was like, because I realized they don't have as much debt as the United States, and they have. I mean, really, you got to keep your population fed. You got to keep them clothed. And you got to make sure that they have somewhere to live and that they are comfortable. They're not like freezing to death. Russia can do all those things. Okay, even if they don't have the textile factories, they're best buddies with China, who's got thousands of textile factories, and will just gladly send over anything they need in exchange for gas and oil and coal. So it's like, what you think that thousands of millions of Russians are just going to risk their lives and rise up against Putin and to take over, to overthrow him on behalf of the United States and NATO because of you putting some pressure on their economy, which actually isn't going to turn out to be that much pressure inevitably.
Yeah. Thus far in this century, that was the biggest miscalculation of the last 20, of the century so far. What they thought they could do to Russia and what their predictions were. You cannot believe how far off that is. Everything turned out opposite of what they wanted. They wanted to destroy Russia, and Russia's more powerful. They're destroying themselves. They lost credibility. They don't have much of any standing in the world anymore. Everybody's flocking to Russia for as the new leaders of the free world. Let's face it. That's what
no one trusts putting assets in the West anymore because they'll just steal them. Yeah.
Well, it's just they're so two-faced. They've shown that they can't be trusted not only by the world, but also their own people shouldn't, as I could gladly extrapolate on in other aspects. But it's just really, they've cornered themselves into a bad. And then this thing with Israel and Hamas and everything is going on it's really making the United States look bad because probably 80-90% of the weapons that the Israeli army is using against the Palestinians are U.S. made weapons, and the Israelis do make some of their own guns and weaponry and tanks, obviously, and stuff. But being the only country that's really strongly standing behind them to the extremists, you obviously have the UK backing up Israel too, but in France and some of the other countries too in Western Europe. But the U.S. is like the number one, and it's like you see the rest of the world kind of leaning towards the Palestinians, especially like China and some of these Asian countries that really have nothing to do with it, and they're kind of supporting the two-state solution and essentially calling for a ceasefire openly. And it's like, what does this say about the United States, who supposedly stood up likes to play up that it stands up against genocide and war crimes all over the world. But here it is again, again, backing a regime that is engaged in it, essentially.
Well, you mentioned the UK, and then you realize that what Liz Truss, was it just yesterday? Oh, probably the day before yesterday, like I was mentioning that article at the beginning, and she says that what needs to be done, just like some other people, we need to flood Ukraine with weapons. She may as well just be saying we need to throw them into the meat grinder till the last Ukrainian.
They're going to end up with no Ukrainians left because they're already just kind of, if they're supposedly having women in the trenches now is what they're finding in some of these videos I've seen.
Yeah.
And
well, that was another thing from Elon Musk. What did he say that? I think he was saying that Zelensky is a butcher or something, right?
I don't know. I mean, he seems more like a buffoon than a butcher, but I mean,
yeah,
a rich one.
Yeah. And where's all that money that he bought these apartments with and his yachts coming from? It's coming out of that 230 billion that's been given to him by the United States, EU, and all the Western countries. He's not paying. That money's not coming from Ukrainians, cookie sales over to other countries and stuff, and selling chocolate and stuff, like you buy in the grocery store here, because it's not being sold. They're not like exporting really, as much as they used to anyway. Their economy is still in a wartime economy, and they're not really producing much stuff that's like being sold all over the world because they're so busy getting their asses handed to them. So it's like, how's this guy, the president, afford to start throwing money into buying luxury probably apartments in some of the most expensive cities in the world,
and his wife's shopping sprees, and for what is it, $1 million some dollars or something, buying jewelry in New York.
I don't blame the guy for wanting to have a backup plan, especially now. But it would be smart to have another home in another country for when all this goes south and he has to get out. But you don't need something that's like massive or luxurious or whatever, and he probably doesn't want anybody to friggin' know about it too.
Well, I think he probably rents them out, and he probably gets good money. This is Zelensky's house, so you can pay $1,000 a night.
I heard his villa in Crimea got auctioned off a while back, and it wasn't even for that much money. It was only like, I think, 600,000 or something.
Well, it looks impressive on the outside. You never know. You never know what it's like on the inside.
Well, that wasn't. No, the pictures on the inside were good. It was that picture they keep showing of the outside. That's like a whole building that has several apartments in it, and he just owns one of them. All right, so that building looks huge and fancy and everything. Well, that whole building wasn't all his apartment. It was like his. There was like only a few apartments in there because they're all luxury apartments, but his was like one of the bigger ones inside the building.
Yeah, talk about rich Ukrainians. Whatever happened to Kolomoisky, his backer, who actually, the man that made Zelensky? Whatever happened? Do you guys ever heard anything about him?
He's waiting for court, isn't he, in jail?
Yeah, I think I heard they were arresting him again or something like that, and I don't know. But he was a big oligarch, and I'll tell you what, I bet that Zelensky's probably the richest man in Ukraine by now.
Oh wait, Kolomoisky. Yeah, now I remember. Yeah. All right, now because what's his name? Used to talk about him.
He's also the guy that he was his main founded backer. He's Jewish, and he founded the
Azov.
The Azov.
Yeah,
Nazis that hate Jews.
It's not like they're mostly actually. Their form of Nazism is more like against Russians,
of course. Yeah, but they also hate Jews.
Actually, they have Jewish members though, according to what the documentary I watched on them.
That's all of these. What do you call them? But contradictions within them. It just shocks me.
But they're weird though. All right, so they hate. So you're saying they hate the Russians, obviously, but they hate Jews supposedly.
Well, there are a lot of them that do. It's like most of them, of course, hate Russians. Well, all of them probably do. That's part of their ideology. But
but they're basically squashing the Eastern Orthodox Church inside Ukraine, though. The Russian, they call it the Russian Orthodox Church, but basically the Russian Orthodox Church and the Greek Orthodox Church, they're essentially kind of joined because they're both Orthodox Christians, and it's like, so what religion are these Ukrainian nationalists going to be following? Because religion, are they going to go to like some form of paganism or something?
Well, the new religion, that came in, it was founded by Petro Poroshenko, the former president, and Pompeo, obviously the CIA. So this is it's a fake church, and they changed it from the name Ukrainian Orthodox Church to the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. So it's something that really gets you mixed up. You might make the mistake.
I didn't even know that. That's so weird.
Yeah, yeah, and then they're seizing all of the properties of the original church, which goes back into antiquity, and I guess it even goes back, what is it, to Peter or Paul or something like that. And yeah, very, and it was they got some well, I don't know if you call them corrupt, but some kind of a official in Istanbul to found this new church,
To be like their spiritual leader.
I don't know exactly, but he's not one of the highest in the church, but some kind of a high person in the Orthodox, the real Orthodox Church, which is incredible.
Have you been to Kiev?
No, I haven't.
No. Have you, David?
No, I haven't been in Ukraine at all.
Oh, really? Okay. So I went. It was actually the first trip me and my girlfriend went on when I moved to Belarus back into 2018. So I went there in it was in late August, early September, and we went to Kiev, and I went to that
big monastery.
That big monastery, the Lavra.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, it's like a 1,200-year-old monastery. There's like massive catacombs underneath. It's on a hill that goes down to the river, and there's like tons of massive catacombs under there that were supposedly only built by like a couple of monks, really, not many, like less than 10 dudes who were like the original guys who were like there. But then they kind of like were using them over the centuries and stuff, and they hid there at various times during wars and stuff. But it's a beautiful place. It's right by that massive World War II monument statue with the woman with the shield and the sword, and that thing is huge. That thing is bigger than the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, that's a Soviet statue, and they took down the symbol of
the big steel woman,
and they put a Ukrainian symbol, I think, on the shield or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know about that part, but when I was there, we did go to all that stuff. And the interesting thing about the Orthodox Christians is that
I thought you were going to say the Ukrainian Orthodox.
No, I know. I was just trying to. I was just looking for a general term. I didn't want to like specify that particular church. But.
I got to stop and think before I open up. Is it Orthodox Church or the Ukraine or Ukrainian Orthodox?
At least I thought it was interesting. Coming from, I was raised Catholic, so their holy water. You actually drink the holy water in the Orthodox Church. I don't know if you've ever been to a Catholic church, but you go it's the Catholic church, and usually you bless yourself with the holy water. Dip your fingers in there, and you just make the sign of the cross, and that's it. You don't drink that. You don't put it in your mouth because it's been sitting out for who knows how long, right? But the holy water that is actually from a spring at this particular monastery that makes it. They have a natural spring under the ground, and they pump it out all day. And you can go in there with like big jugs and stuff. And there were these babushkas and dedushkas filling up massive, 6-liter jugs with holy water that they were going to take home with them. And even my girlfriend filled up a bottle and brought it back home with her. And I was drinking. I was like, why not, holy water? Wow. I don't know if they go through the same tradition where there is like a priest blessing it and stuff like they do in the Catholic Church, but I guess maybe they do sort of, or maybe it's just holy because the water's coming from the grounds, a well that is on the grounds of the monastery. Wow. But anyway,
the only thing that's holy that I had anything to do with was my T-shirt. So. Well, I had underwear like that.
Underwear,
too.
yeah, socks.
Yeah, I get a lot of those too. Yeah. So I'm a religious guy. That makes me religious, right?
Yeah, you could become very reborn into your faith.
I go to midnight mass here. Just I always say I like the theater of it.
The Orthodox midnight mass.
Yeah, all the time. I like the theater of it.
Singing sometimes it's incredible.
So the one thing about
voices are really something.
The one thing about Orthodox mass versus Catholic mass is the Orthodox mass everyone is standing.
There's no seats.
There's no pews. There's nowhere to sit. So you got to stand there for the entire thing. And
I've been to some like religious. I went into a what do you call it? What the Muslims go into, the mosque once, in a pray area, and then I was once in some sort of a really crazy sort of I don't know, it wasn't Buddhist or something. It was some kind of an Indian religion thing. I sat in on one thing once, and then just your regular churches in the States, and but I went to one Orthodox thing, and it was something. The singing. it's just, I mean, I guess it depends on, I guess these guys practice, the guys, meaning the priests and even the ladies and stuff like that. And it's weird because they know, I think it's like reciting the Bible, right? And,
Yeah.
and they can, like, it's and then they can hold it for a long time sometimes. And yeah, it's really, I mean, I'd like to record something like that to show people.
All the icons everywhere and all the colored
Yeah.
gold and
Yeah.
I've seen some performances inside St. Basil's, Red Square. Have you been there?
no, but now I've got my residency card. I can go there without a visa.
Is that finally instituted now?
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
do it now.
yeah. Yes.
Yes. So I went there back in 2016, and it looks like so impressive on the outside, so colorful. Like, wow, you think it's gonna be awesome on the inside? It's way less impressive on the inside than it is on the outside. A lot of the corridors are very narrow. If you want really impressive Orthodox churches, go to St. Petersburg, St. Isaac's, and then Christ Saves You on the Blood is the one by the Hermitage Museum. I think it's down the street from there, and those are very impressive Russian Orthodox churches. As far as like you go inside, and they've imported like lots of gem work and like metal work, as far as like making the interiors very elaborate, and they're beautiful. I got some beautiful pictures of those cathedrals.
Well, I hear it's impressive in St. Petersburg. Everybody says, go to St. Petersburg.
It's a cool city.
It's like a Venice of the North, some people call it, I believe. And
yeah, because there's a lot of bridges that you can just walk over and stuff, because it's built right on the Baltic there, and it's got like these little islands, and you can walk in between them, relatively easily. The prices are, and it's better. The prices are better than Moscow too. There, I would say it's not going to be. It's going to be more expensive than here, but not that much more expensive.
We're supposed to be going there in summer, so that'd be good.
Yeah, don't go in. Probably everyone says it's terrible in the winter there.
Yeah, I heard it's a lot of the time of the year. It's very depressing. It's like maybe like UK or something like that at St. Petersburg. I don't know.
It's like upstate New York to me. It's like literally the same type of stuff.
Well, most of the northern hemisphere anyway. I mean, even Minsk. It's but when the sun comes out here, and there's snow on the ground, it looks really beautiful here, doesn't it?
I can actually crack out the sunglasses and walk around in the snow.
Yeah. But yeah, you get too many cloudy days. Summers, I don't know, for some reason it seems like we got a lot of sunny days on the summer here. Wonder why that is. I mean, cloudy in the winter for so long. I guess I was in the Caribbean too long, where it's sunny all the time.
So when I was down in Kiev, though, I did go to Lvov eventually.
You went there, really?
Yeah, I've been to Lvov.
It's supposed to be beautiful there.
Lvov is really nice. I mean, it's like a Western city, though. I mean, it's got like it's like a
Germany, right? I like a German, like
it's got Polish influence, is really what it is.
Yeah,
but I mean, you could really you could pop it into somewhere like in Czech or in Poland or in Lithuania, or probably even into like parts of Eastern Germany, and it would blend in a lot of the architecture and stuff. It's got the cobblestone streets and the style of building where it's more, I don't know how to describe it, but it's when I go and even when I go up to Lithuania or Vilnius, I feel like I'm a little closer to home, sort of, even though I wasn't raised in Europe, but like a lot of the people who moved to America were obviously Europeans, so the building style is sort of similar in some ways, especially on the East Coast.
Have you been to Grodno?
Yeah, I went there.
Yeah, I thought
I went there for like a week and a
there.
half.
I was in Riga and
Grodno's like
Grodno.
that, but it's not as much. Lvov is even more like European style.
Yeah,
It's
I like
nice.
Grodno better than I liked Riga. To be honest with you. Well, there's a couple things in Riga.
Really?
Well, there's like that square with I think it's a church and all that. There's some nice places in Riga, but
I've never been to Riga.
yeah, a lot of it is, to me, it's not going. Just like I said, I like a lot of places in Grodno, even though Grodno's a lot smaller. They have the castle there and
I went to the zoo there.
whatever it is. In Grodno?
Yeah, I went to the zoo.
I didn't go there.
not a bad
Actually, there's a
zoo.
synagogue
Not a
there,
bad
and
zoo.
and there's a a synagogue, a Lutheran church in Grodno, and that's some of the propaganda that's in the States.
There's a nice mall. I know that.
I remember Christian people. They were on the internet, by the way, big people on the internet saying that that Christianity is not allowed or it's persecuted in Belarus or something like that. And these were knowledgeable people that have
Who says
internet.
Who says this?
I don't want to say, but,
Okay, all right.
but it was somebody kind of well known in the internet, and it's like, what, and I hadn't been, look, had I been to Belarus when I heard that or not? Yeah, I'd been to Belarus already, but I wasn't looking around for any churches, and I know there was, of course, Orthodox churches, and I know they're Christian, so
yeah, and there's also a Catholic church right next to the KGB building down by Lenin Square. So the real church over there.
Lots of Catholics, of course.
Church.
It's
about 20% of the population is Catholic here.
Yeah, and then there's, like I said, there's Lutheran and Baptist, in Baranovich. There's Seventh-day Adventists. I've seen those before here.
Yeah, I met some Methodists here. I think they were Methodists anyway.
Did they have the church though? Is what I mean.
They had some. I don't know. It was some woman who she was part of this church. She heard me speaking English. She wanted to talk to me at a grocery store, and I'm talking to her. She had studied business in America, out in California actually. I think it was in San Francisco actually for a few years, 4 years, when she was doing her graduate degree. And then she came back here and married her husband, and they're big active in their church or whatever. And she invited me to go there, and I ended up going and hanging out there, talking to some of the people who were learning English there, and doing kind of a thing. Unfortunately, whenever you speak to me for any length of time, I tend to start getting and discussing political things just because it's what I kind of gravitate towards, the news. So that's fine. That's fine. I always try to get. No, I'm talking. No, when I was talking to these people.
That's what you said to them.
These people who are just like, oh, we just want to get some practice with English. We're an English study group or whatever at the church, and I'm like, whoa, I feel like I'm gonna get drawn into my stuff. Can be quite controversial if I really. I'm avoiding a lot of my opinion stuff in certain regards too on here even, because I don't know how open your audience would be to that and stuff too. But it is it's funny too. When I'm there and we started talking about the differences between the countries and stuff, and it's there was this guy there who kind of I could tell he kind of knew where I was going with a lot of it, and he was kind of laughing in the back.
Yeah, well, it's good for the listeners anyway, at least to hear about the churches as well, because it's just a lot of the fake stuff. And there's also was a thing, you're not allowed to dance. I think, was it in public? Or dancing not allowed in Belarus or some kind of stuff like this, It's so easy because it's a country that, it's not a big population. A lot of people don't go here. Everybody knows about Russia. And of course, now everybody knows about Ukraine and all that. And so they don't know so much except what the Western governments and media tell you. Oh, that's an evil place over there. It's got an evil dictator. He's lining people up against the wall and shooting them with a firing squad or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a police state. You can be scooped up at any time.
Yeah.
You have no freedom of speech or whatever.
But even if there's something here that seems maybe a little bit strict, you always have to ask yourself now, what happens if something like that is in the West? And you always come to the conclusion, well, gee, they do the same thing in the West, if it's I don't know, some terrorism or something like that. And it's but you look at a difference. Say, remember those riots in Ferguson, Missouri? That was the beginning of the first time when Black Lives Matter and all that. And they're telling everybody, oh, it's white people and black people fighting against each other. And then they even had mainstream news networks there and trying to interview people. And these people are looking around and say, well, we're not really fighting. And they're black and white and they're not fighting against each other. It was a whole protest about police brutality. It wasn't white against black or black against white. But that was the founding first debut of Black Lives Matter. And if I remember, who were the ones that started that? Definitely Soros was involved in that. Barack Obama was involved. I don't remember the other main guy, but then there were two bankers in California that were also involved in that. And I think they started up this big money scheme about it. And then how this element of what people say communism or whatever like that, it's a big sham, and I hope that most of the people watching this know that Black Lives Matter is not so concerned about, Black Lives Mattering. And in those...
well, some of the people who were running it were using it as a grift.
Yeah, it definitely is. They were who's that woman, black woman, and she's buying
Probably a couple
$1 million
houses for herself.
homes,
Yeah.
all in white neighborhoods, by the way.
Of course.
And then when they started the real riots, that was what is it, a year later or what? I don't know. I forgot my recent history of the U.S. They were killing more black people. The Black Lives Matter things were killing black people. I mean, that was the biggest deaths of black people in America was during these riots.
Well, yeah, the thing about Black Lives Matter is if they cared about Black lives, they'd be worried about the anywhere from 10 to 24 people who get smoked in gang violence in downtown Chicago every weekend, because that's going on for the last 15 years. It's pretty bad in downtown Chicago with the gang violence.
Yeah, I think it was Tucker Carlson putting something on, and I think it was a different thing. It was after. Oh, was it after that George Floyd or something? But there was some guy, some white policeman shot some guy. I don't know, probably killed him, as far as I know. And nearly the same time, they had black police officers that shot and killed a black guy in Los Angeles on the other side of the country, and that was not even mentioned. Not mentioned at all.
Well, if you go, I think the Black Lives Matter thing really kicked off. Now, George Floyd has got a lot of attention, but there was a guy before that, and he was a guy. It happened in New York City, and it was a large guy, like even bigger than George Floyd, but kind of a fat guy, and he got jumped on from behind from a plainclothes New York City police officer, and he was holding his neck or whatever, brought him down to the ground. And same sort of situation happened here. The guy wasn't kneeling on the guy's neck or whatever, kind of had him in a chokehold, and the guy ended up dying or something. I think he died, yeah.
But here in Belarus,
it was his daughter who started the whole Black Lives Matter.
Oh, it was in New York, huh?
Yes, I think it started out of that guy's daughter, and she was coined the term the Black Lives Matter, but then obviously so many other people just piled into that at the time, and then any black police interaction that went bad in some way ended up snowballing into that. Do you remember it was just last year? Did it happen in St. Louis where these 4 or 5 black police officers beat this other black guy to death, where they held him up and they had video of them punching him right in the face, and it comes out later.
Oh, I think
he was he was a FedEx delivery guy or something, and it was he wasn't working at the time, no, but it turned out one of the police officers' ex-wives was working at the same place, and this guy was dating that woman.
Now you hear a lot of these kind of stories.
But it got a lot of attention because they had their cameras, their vest cameras on while they were beating the crap out of this guy, and one of the officers was literally locked the guy's arms up, holding him up, while the other police officer winds up and just clocks him right in the face.
Wow.
Yeah, and he hit him, winding up, hitting him a few times, and the guy ended up dying in the hospital like a few days later. And I'm I'm not really super into this, but God, these guys are so screwed. And they're all these officers, and the person and the guy that got killed, all black, all.
Yeah, that's what I was also wanted to say, about some of these things. When this happens in the United States, it's nobody ever mentions the government, really. But when things like that happen in, say, places like Russia or Belarus, say some police did something, they always, in the U.S., the media says, look at how bad that government is, look at that country. So they're always blaming things on the government, that somehow the government is brutal because some policeman did something to somebody, and it's incredible how they can do that,
It's brainwashing.
And nobody does that.
Sort of.
And even Obama was even involved. I mean, he had a finger or two in this Ferguson stuff, but yet nobody mentioned it. It's nobody, the dots are sitting there, but you just don't connect the dots. And over here, they add in a couple extra dots. I mean, the Western media, and say, look, it's the government doing it, the Belarusian government or something.
Well,
but even in a town, say for example, a different town, not even in Minsk, say on the other side of Belarus, say some policeman kill some guy or something like that, and then of course they blame the government of Belarus, and that actually did happen. There was at one time. Because I was told this by somebody on the opposition and they admitted that opposition people killed a policeman. They ran over him with a car. It was back in 2020, and I think the police got more brutal at that time. I don't think they killed anybody, but they got more brutal with some of these protesters, and of course, yeah, they say how bad the police are, when actually it all was kicking off by the provocation of somebody running over killing a policeman.
They're just deflecting. The United States, whenever they, try to put all the blame for anything that happens in any of these other countries and try to play off their countries as worse, their governments as more abusive. When the United States government is really one of the most abusive governments in the entire world, even to its own people, in many ways. My first-hand experience like that. I mean, January 6th. I mean, the only person who really got killed then directly was that Ashley Babbitt girl, who was a former Air Force enlisted person, I think, who was just there protesting, and she didn't even go inside, and they killed her. And then supposedly 4 officers died as a result of what happened. But then it was all I think it was they were all half of them or more were suicides or something. Or one guy had a heart attack.
I think I heard about the suicides. Oh yeah, maybe a heart attack as well. Yeah,
who knows if those suicides weren't something more than they seemed, maybe.
Like all those Clinton, Clinton connected to the Clintons, those suicides people committed. Yeah, how many deaths were behind the Clintons? Some people have the number up to 200. A lot of them are the the State Patrol or whatever they have. That were his bodyguards and things. A lot of them supposedly committed suicide, and
I think it was around 54 at the moment.
Who was that guy who was working at Obama's house?
Oh, the chef.
The
chef. That's the second chef.
Yeah. There was another chef. That was not the first one. And
there's a second guy.
Yeah. That's the second chef.
I guess I just like to say that he probably walked in the room and saw something that he shouldn't have. As far as Big Mike is concerned.
Yeah. Big Mike. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you what. It's just some crazy stuff. How many times do you have somebody that a young, healthy person that you work with die? I mean,
that's something that it's not even once in a lifetime type of thing. It's something that maybe 1 out of every 20 people has once in a lifetime. Something like that similar happens to them. Where I was working with this guy and he just died. Especially if you're not in an active conflict or something like that.
Didn't both chefs drown as well?
I don't know about the first one. I just heard about this one this last summer, and I was making all these memes about it. I was like, oh.
I had a few times. I remember in the Army, one guy, he had a, kind of a, I don't know if it's asthmatic or whatever. He had a breathing problem in the area we were stationed at. And even that was after, maybe a year and a half after Chernobyl. And of course, I think that area might have been affected a little bit from Chernobyl. And, but anyway, that guy, his wife was from Korea, and I had dinner at his house that night.
Yeah.
And I go into, formation in the morning. You have to be there by 6 o'clock, for reveille to salute the flag. And everything's a buzz. And I asked one sergeant, I think was I a sergeant at that time? Anyway, I asked another sergeant, and I said, what's going on? So what happened? And he said, Ladner died last night. Oh, I shouldn't have said his name. But anyway, it's like, what? And I said, you're kidding me. Would I kid about a thing like that? And I said, I had dinner with him last night. It was really weird.
Wow.
Then I worked with another guy who says, I didn't even know he was having trouble with, I guess, his wife or something like that. He was at work one day.
Yeah, but he didn't work for you, though. That's the thing.
Are you related to the Clintons?
Yeah.
A few people dying around you.
He wasn't making your food or anything, or
no, it was his breathing. He had some sort of a thing,
okay.
asthmatic, and I think they called the ambulance. Maybe didn't get there in time, if I can remember properly. Then there was another guy. He had problems with his wife, and I didn't even know it. He was just started working at this one place. And he did kill himself. He hung himself. So, and there was the next day, and the boss comes in. There was only actually 4 of us working there, and then the boss, and he says, "Hey, so this, I don't even remember the guy's name. He wasn't there a long time, but that's about the only 2 deaths like that I, that happen. Those sort of things. So unless somebody a little bit and gets in a car accident or whatever, or other things like that but not people that you actually worked with.
I think you just need to take away from that story is that, if you ever work for the Obamas, you should knock on the door before you go into any room, unless you want to wind up.
Sing loudly. La la
Yeah.
la la. la.
Same thing.
Like in
with-
Alaska, when you're walking, obviously through the forest and all that, you have a bell on your backpack, ding ding ding, for the bears, so they can hear it and then they fuck off.
Wow.
yeah.
Because they, if you come around
That
the
is-
corner and they're there, the first thing they do is like but if they can hear you, they usually leave.
Yeah, the polar bears.
Grizzlies and
the
black
grizzlies,
bears.
okay.
Oh, black bears and grizzlies a bit. Black bears and brown bears.
Yeah.
It happens occasionally. People get smoked by those bears.
I think in the area I was at on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, you go into the into the woods. In the springtime, I guess, is a time you got to be really careful because they have huge elk, Roosevelt elk. I think the biggest elk in the world, and they're huge and they're massive. And if you get close to them, and they got these big cages of horns, and they'll come right after you and impale you
get
if you.
impaled by, yeah, they can kill you.
Yeah.
And same thing with the whitetail. Even if you get a buck that has
And
a good set of horns on them.
Yeah, and in Alaska as well, when you go camping, don't take bacon, or when you finish it, put it up in the tree because the bears can smell it for miles.
Wow.
Damn.
God, hope I don't do that. Bring some bacon. Ooh. Yeah.
Well, we got them here in Belarus too. Just not as common, obviously, especially not in the city here. But bears and stuff. Apparently.
Yeah, moose as well.
Yeah. Moose are mean too, but generally they won't try to be aggressive as long as you give them a little bit of space,
And don't get between them and their calf.
Exactly. If it's a female.
You guys just remind me. Just the other day I was looking at some picture and I was telling this teacher, and there was a picture of a swan, and I said, "Man, they can get really nasty because swan, they get a real bad temper." I was wondering if you had a little child there or something, how pretty the swan is, and
Speaking of that,
the swan comes, starts attacking you.
this summer I brought my son to my girlfriend had a company party over at the Minsk Sea, and there was a swan there. It came up right on the shore, and my son saw it, and he's only less than 3 years old at the time. So he's swan. He's pointing at it and everything. My girlfriend was there. I said, "Hey, listen, I went right up to the swan though. It didn't do anything to me, but it starts hissing. They start going like at you like that. And once you get up close to them, you think, oh, it's just like a big goose or a chicken, or something. No, they're pretty big. They're not small."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then my son is back behind me, and I told my girlfriend, don't let him get any closer than that. I was like, it's got a long neck. It could take one of his fingers off or something.
Oh.
I was like, keep him back. So I went right up to him, and it didn't try to snap at me or anything, but it was hissing at me. And I was only standing a few feet from it. But you could tell, even if it snapped at me, it could probably, take a chunk out of my hand or something.
Oh, I tell you, it's going to be even worse than that. I tell you, some birds, there's a heron, and there are a lot of wild birds where I used to live too. Snow owls and things like that. But it's I think it was a heron. But I tell you, if you find one injured or something, and you want to send it to some station, for them to heal it or something before, but you got to be really careful. You got to hold their neck because they can take your eye out really fast. They see your eye and bam, they take your eye right out of your head, and
Jesus.
Yeah, so that's what you really got to
wear sunglasses.
Yeah. So I don't know, just thinking, oh, nice birdie or something, and it's not going to do anything. It doesn't have any muscles. It's not going to.
Yeah. No, the beacon. I probably shouldn't even got as close as I did to it, but I was like, and I was wearing my sunglasses because it was summer. So, but I told my girlfriend, I was like, right away, I was like, don't let him get any closer. I'm like, this thing's kind of, it's got a little bit of an edge to it, After it starts hissing at me, I'm like, oh, the hell with this thing. I said, if it tries anything, I'm just going to punch it right in the head. And then I'll be out here. Look at this guy beating up the fucking swan.
You've been in some of those countries like Somalia and all that, Dave. Is that true that camels will spit on you?
Yeah, they'll do that. And bite you as well.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, like llamas.
Was it midnight at the oasis? Send your camel to bed. Let it spit on you first.
What's cool about over in Europe here, though, is that kind of like how we have. All right, so there's animals they don't have over here that we have, and there's animals they have here that we don't have back here, like hedgehogs. Okay.
Oh yeah,
You see them out walking around, people are keeping these things as pets back in America. They're just sitting in the field out here. Especially at night. They like to come out in the evening, and they don't run. They're not fast. They just kind of like ball up and they'll look at you, but they won't run away. But then like they also like I remember when I brought my girlfriend to America, and we were outside one night, like walking around my house, and she smelled the skunk, and she's like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's like what a skunk smells like." She's like, "Oh, I know about those from the movies." I'm like, "Yeah, that's one of them." I'm like, she's like, "Can we see it somewhere?" I'm like, "No, we don't want to see it." I'm like, "Wherever it is, we just want to let it, because we don't want to get anywhere close to it because it'll spray us with that crap, and then we'll stink like it, until we go and dump tomato sauce all over ourselves or something." Because the smell is really strong. You got to use some special stuff to get it out. Usually, my grandmother used to say use tomato sauce was good for getting it out, but supposedly I guess there's certain soaps that can do it too.
Don't hedgehogs here have rabies?
I don't know.
Sure, that's what the wife said to me.
Maybe.
Got to be careful.
Well, I think any kind of, I guess what are they, a rodent? Do you consider a hedgehog as a rodent?
I don't know.
You don't want to get bit by any rodents, I guess, but yeah.
Anybody out there know about hedgehogs?
It's a hedgehog.
Yes. Yeah. Must be a rodent. I don't know.
Well, I grew up with a lot of unique animals in Australia.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of kill you. Many will kill you.
Inland taipans and all those other lovely snakes and spiders and all sorts of bugs. And it's wonderful down there.
Yeah.
My son really likes koalas, by the way, if you could get a koala here.
They're about to try and build a wind farm, and there's the koalas that live there, and they're going to kill the koalas with hammers.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it is.
For a koala.
Yeah.
Aren't they kind of endangered a little? They need eucalyptus. They only eat eucalyptus, right?
Yeah, they only eat eucalyptus.
Yeah, but I don't think they're endangered, though, right? There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, yeah. But this area, they want to build a wind farm, but the only way to get rid of the koalas is they're going to hammer them to death.
Jeez. Man.
It's very nice.
They can't. Why can't they just send them to zoos around the? I'm sure people would take them. I mean, they're so kids love them. I mean, my son, as soon as he started, he had to have a stuffed koala. He's like, and then he was going around when he first saw the videos about him, watching them on YouTube, the koala videos. And then all summer long, he's going in the trees looking. He's like, koala, looking in the trees, see if he can find a koala. He thinks every tree, even in Minsk here, has a koala in it. No, the only thing those kangaroos are assholes, though, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
Screw those things.
Yeah.
What do they sit on their tail and?
No, they're mean. They're like they attack your dog or something.
Yeah. The big ones, the big reds.
Yeah, they're the most. What is it?
Emus as well attack you.
What are those?
They're like an ostrich.
Oh, emus. Okay.
Yeah. Especially women, if they're on the periods, they'll chase them.
Oh, gosh,
yeah, it's pretty funny. We went camping once, and one was chasing my girlfriend. We were laughing. It was really funny.
Emus chasing.
It wasn't funny for her, but it was funny for us.
Oh, what's another?
What do they do? What do they do when they catch them?
I don't know. No, she ran into the car.
She don't want to find out.
She ran into the car.
Platypus.
Oh, yeah, platypus.
Duck-billed platypus.
Yeah,
oh, man.
It's the only mammal that lays eggs.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it is. There might be another one.
No, I think that's the only one.
A weird one.
Yeah. I was going to say kangaroos. They say that's the most energy efficient animal on Earth. They move the largest distance with the least amount of energy.
And they taste nice.
Yeah, so I've heard they have good meat.
Oh.
I would like to. I've had alligator meat before. From American alligator.
Yeah, that's fairly bland.
Yeah, it's bland. It's. Everybody always says it's about something that tastes like chicken. It does because it doesn't have much flavor. So it's very chewy though. It's like chicken as far as the flavor, but the texture is really
like crocodile.
Yes. If you had crocodile, I'm sure it tastes like alligator.
Yeah.
So I mean that's
you can get emu, kangaroo, and crocodile in the shop in London. You can just buy it.
Oh, really? I bet it's kind of pricey though.
No, it's fairly cheap.
It's not bad.
Yeah, there's an Australian shop. I used to buy a lot of stuff all the time.
Alligator meat was good though. I mean, besides it didn't have a tremendous amount of flavor. It was okay. It didn't taste bad. It's not like I've had bad elk before. I've had good elk too, but I've had bad elk meat before. Whereas the alligator stuff, every time I tried it, it was the same consistency.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to London after New Year's, so I'll bring some back.
Okay.
I'll bring some roo back.
Alligator.
No, roo back. Kangaroo.
Oh, kangaroo. Oh,
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'll bring some roo back.
Yeah, I've never had that before. You want to try that, Duke?
I don't know.
Kangaroo bites.
Kangaroo.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well,
apparently,
and it's really lean, and it's hardly any oil in them.
Well, seeing that there's something like most energy efficient animals. It makes you wonder, they probably are lean, huh?
And apparently, their skin makes really the best leather in the world.
I had a chance to
It's the
have
strongest leather.
iguana, but I was no desire. But I had caribou, like you probably have in Alaska.
yeah,
Yeah.
caribou, yeah.
When I was in Alaska too.
I've had snake in Australia, goanna, like a
Iguana?
yeah, goanna.
Yeah, I never,
Not iguana, but iguana.
Mm.
Emu, camel, obviously camel.
You didn't say guano, did you?
You know, there's 200,000 camels in Australia.
Yeah, because it's got a good
Oh,
environment
I
for
didn't
it,
know that.
especially
Yeah,
out in the
because
outback.
when they built the inland telegraph from Adelaide to Darwin, they used camels, obviously, in the 1800s.
Oh.
And then afterwards, they just let them go.
Because they got wild
Wow.
camels.
And Saudi Arabia buys them because they're really fast. They're really good for racing camels
Yeah, they do that.
Oh, the ones,
from Australia.
the camels from Australia.
Yeah, they're good
Okay.
racing camels.
Wow.
Okay, we've got 4 minutes left. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes,
appreciate
and
it.
join us on the next one, whenever.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday. Same time, same channels. See you then. Bye-bye.